rapid fire, and the grip were moved down to the proficiency category. So for attachments, they would use suppressors, red dots, and maybe extended mags if you had to pick the best three, I guess. I mean, I would go with the suppressor as the best. Call of Duty is a game of customization. Ever since COD 4, a massive part of the formula has been customizing your weapons and unlocking new attachments to make them as good as they could possibly be. And just like everything else in Call of Duty, some attachments were better than others, and you ended up seeing them all over certain games. So on today's Every COD video, what is up everybody, Chaos here, welcome to the channel. We are going to travel through COD history and check out the single best, most popular attachment in every single game. We are going to start with COD 4 and go all the way through the current Modern Warfare 2019. You let me know which of these you agree or disagree with. It's okay, you can disagree. Drop a like, make sure you have those notifications turned on, ring that little bell, check that box. And if you get anything from G Fuel, anything at all, use promo code Chaos and tweet me that you did. Link in the description. Now, let's start off with COD 4. You have to go with the tried and true, the simple red dot sight. No surprise here. The original Modern Warfare only had a handful of attachments. You had the red dot, you had the ACOG sights, then there was a suppressor, grenade launcher, and for the LMGs and shotties, there was a foregrip, and unlike other CODs, you can only have a maximum of one attachment on each weapon. Now, I don't think anybody will disagree with me saying that the red dot sight was by far the most useful and universally used attachment in that game. Almost everybody used it over the iron sights whenever they could, not because the iron sights in the game were bad, but because the red dot was way more useful than the other two attachments for the ARs and the SMGs. And sure, some people took the suppressor instead, but the vast majority went with the red dot for the clear vision and the improved peripherals. Plus, I'm going to put my foot down and say the red dot sight in COD 4 was the best one in COD history. It was the first, and it was the best. There was something just way cleaner about that than others. Maybe it's because the dot was super small and the border of the sight was thin. I don't know. Whatever it was fantastic. Call of Duty World at War. The dual mag / drum mag / box mag. Like COD 4, the attachments were pretty scarce and limited in World at War, especially because it was set during the 40s. A lot of people ran their guns naked, but if there was one attachment that everybody remembers from this game, it was the infamous drum mag. This was World at War's version of extended mags, and they were called different things on different guns, but they were extremely effective, much more than what you get in other COD games. On the SMGs, the drum mag would double your magazine size, giving the MP40 a ridiculous 64 rounder and the PPSH, well, an even more ridiculous 70 rounder, and it would allow you to just run around, spam, and hardly ever reload. Normally, extended mags give you 1.5 times bonus at the most, but World at War gave you double your magazine size, and it made the game a little more crazy. Talking about crazy games, Modern Warfare 2, the grenade launcher, the noob tube. I mean, come on, seriously, you can't talk about MW2 without talking about the noob tubes. And if we do get this remastered multiplayer, do you guys want noob tubes how they were in all their glory? I mean, Modern Warfare 2 was designed to be a more ridiculous version of COD 4. The grenade launchers were buffed quite a bit, and they were without a doubt the most powerful attachment in the game. They were available on every single assault rifle, they had great range, and the blast radius was insane. It killed anybody nearby, even without the use of Danger Close. But everybody knows people still use Danger Close just to crank it up to 11 and camp the top of the buildings with one-man army. So sure, the grenade launcher wasn't the most fondly looked upon attachment in Modern Warfare 2, but if we're talking about sheer effectiveness, which we are, I don't think anybody can argue with this pick. Now we arrive at Black Ops 1, the suppressor. Now this shouldn't shock anybody who played the original Black Ops. Everybody was running suppressors in this game, partly because they were useful and partly because they sounded really good. Ghost was also extremely powerful in Black Ops 1, so if you ran Ghost with a suppressor, you were pretty much invisible unless somebody got a Blackbird. Now the suppressor sound was cool. It was cool on certain guns, especially the AK and the Commando. Recon planes were pretty ineffective in this game because everybody was they were running Ghost, and they were running suppressors. And I guess that's part of the game's charm, I don't know. But suppressors dominated. And sticking with that, we move on to Modern Warfare 3. Like Black Ops, the Modern Warfare 3 suppressor got a lot of popularity because of how well it would combo with Assassin Pro. Also, looking back at MW3, despite there being a lot of attachments, people really only used a couple of them. Rapid Fire and the Grip were moved down to the proficiency category, so for attachments, they would use suppressors, red dots, and maybe extended mags if you had to pick the best three, I guess. I mean, I would go with the suppressor as the best. Again, Assassin Pro was strong in this game. And if you were running Specialist, you could become a total ninja with suppressed weapons. The range penalty for suppressors wasn't that bad in the game at all, so there wasn't much drawback to using them. So how many times do you think you saw someone running a suppressed MP7 or suppressed ACR in the game? Probably way too many to count. Black Ops 2 Quick Draw. Now up until this point, Quick Draw had been a perk, either as part of Sleight of Hand Pro or its own dedicated in Modern Warfare 3. However, Black Ops 2 changed it to make Quick Draw a dedicated attachment for each gun and essentially became a crutch attachment. Given the fast pace to BO2 and the effectiveness of dexterity for shorter sprint out times, basically everybody was running Quick Draw. When you comboed that with dexterity, you could aim down sights almost immediately after coming out of a sprint, and it sped the game pace up dramatically. Pretty much everybody was using Quick Draw in Black Ops 2. It was a crutch attachment. You pretty much had to have it if you wanted to keep up with everybody else, and it was definitely the best in the game. Next up, we have Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm going to go with Extended Mags. Now, because of the changes to the meta in Ghost, Extended Mags, it was a must. Ghost featured a quicker time to kill, and the Quick Draw perk was re-added, which gave you more freedom to customize your guns. Reload animations were generally pretty long in Ghost, so a lot of people would run Sleight of Hand or Extended Mags, or both, and Extended Mags would decrease the need for reloading, which was nice in a game like this, where just a few seconds of downtime could get you melted. And if you ran out of ammo during a gunfight, you were most certainly going to get melted. Ghost tried to introduce new attachments and get creative with it, but ultimately, people ended up mainly going back to what they knew worked best, and that was Extended Mags. Advanced Warfare. Quick Draw. Speaking of what people knew best, Quick Draw was by far the most used attachment in AW. Now, because of how fast this game was, people wanted to be spending as little time as possible dealing with animations and downtime. And Quick Draw, well, it would cut your ADS time in half, so naturally, everybody equipped it. It makes sense, because in a game where everybody is bunny hopping and zipping around, you want to be able to react as quickly as possible, and there's nothing worse than getting into a fight in Call of Duty, but you feel like you're fighting with the gun itself. Okay, we have a trend here. Black Ops 3, Quick Draw. Just like in Black Ops 2, Quick Draw was basically a crutch attachment in the game. The sprint out times were a little annoying in Black Ops 3, especially considering this was a jetpack game, and you wanted your gear moving as fast as possible. So with that being said, tons of people ran fast hands for shorter sprint out times, and then if you comboed that with Quick Draw, well, you could draw your weapon and start firing almost instantly. It also helped speed up the handling of ARs and LMGs, which were a bit slow and sluggish for a game like this, so that was nice too. Now we've reached Infinite Warfare. I'm going to go with the ELO sight. Every COD game has that one optical attachment that gets way more field usage than the others, but I don't think there has been a single COD title with one as spammed as much as the IW ELO. It was a very short range zoom with quick handling, had very minimal obstruction, great peripheral visions, and a plenty of custom reticles for you to choose from. It was all over the place in Infinite Warfare, both because of its design, as well as the fact that a lot of the iron sights in the game, they were weird. They were just weird. They were wonky. And other optics, well, they were hit or miss. Infinite Warfare also had a heavy emphasis on pure gunfights, so having as clear of a sight as possible, it was important. Call of Duty World War II. Back to Extended Mags. Now, this was an interesting game from a design standpoint. It was trying to take the World War II setting, but put in a modern COD customization system and game speed. And you already know, magazines and gun capacity were smaller back in the 40s, so a lot of the guns in COD World War II had smaller mags than a lot of COD players were used to. And the fire rates, well, they were a little lower, so you weren't shredding through your ammo as much. So, a good way to complement that was Extended Mags. They were available on almost every gun in the game, and they had pretty big rewards, much bigger than previous CODs. In some cases, they would be more than double your ammo capacity, making you a spraying and praying machine. COD World War II had its flaws, but ultimately, I think it was an alright game, especially after the overhaul and what state it's in now. Black Ops 4. The Extended Mag / Hybrid Mags. Now, BO4 also really incentivized Extended Mags, but for the exact opposite reason of COD World War II. In COD World War II, you used Extended Mags because default mags were smaller and fire rates were slower. But in Black Ops 4, the default health of players was higher than before and it took more bullets to kill, but most guns still only had 30 rounds in the mag by default, meaning the ratio of kills to reloads was a lot lower this time around. This meant Extended Mags were pretty much a must on every weapon, so you could kill multiple enemies without needing to reload, and also so you wouldn't get 5 or 6 hit markers on someone and then get stuck in a reload animation. Plus, in this game, you also had hybrid mags on certain guns, which was a nice middle ground because Extended Mags and fast mags, you put in the middle, you've got hybrid. They were slightly larger than the default mag, but not as big as a full Extended Mag. Then, they reloaded slightly quicker than the default, but not quite as quick as the fast mags. It was a nice addition. I would actually like to see it come back in the future. And finally, Modern Warfare 2019. Stippled grip tape. Now, because of the sheer number of attachments in the game, it's hard to narrow down just one, but if there's one attachment that almost everybody runs on every gun they can, here it is. Stipple Grip Tape is available on most primary weapons in the game, and its primary function is to reduce your sprint to fire speed and then give you minor bonuses for your aim down sight speed and your aiming stability. Now, given how slow Modern Warfare feels for a lot of people, players will take anything they can get to speed it up, and given the fact that sprint out times are super long in the game, it shouldn't surprise anybody that everybody runs Stipple Grip. Now, like Quick Draw in Black Ops 2, the tape in Modern Warfare is basically a crutch attachment. Everybody uses it, and by this point, you would think Infinity Ward would have caught on and just reduced the sprint out times just a little bit altogether, but that's not the case. And there you have it, my friends. That is my pick for the best attachment in every single Call of Duty. It is a huge field to pick from, a huge list. You let me know one attachment that didn't get love on this video that deserved it. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like, and I'll see you soon.